Good afternoon. My name is Malini Nyar, and I'm CPC's Chief Risk Officer. I'm excited to be facilitating this session on homeownership on behalf of CPC. I joined CPC almost 3 years ago because I was drawn to CPC's long-standing and laser-focused mission and goals to provide capital, technical assistance, and advocacy for the development and preservation of affordable housing, environmental resiliency, and bridging the racial wealth gap. Here in the United States, homeownership is viewed as an essential element of the American dream. It comes with many benefits. It is a source of intergenerational wealth. It provides long-term financial stability, tax benefits, and opportunities to build credit, and it improves long-term social outcomes for families. Following the Great Recession of 2008, homeownership opportunities decreased because of shrinking supply and a tightening of mortgage credit. Since then, new housing production has not kept up with demand, resulting in increasing home prices. More recently, since the pandemic, the problem has been exacerbated by higher costs and rising interest rates, further constricting supply. This inaccessibility has fueled greater economic inequality between homeowners and renters, as well as inequalities that have long existed in the housing finance system because of structural racism. Racial disparity in homeownership remains high. A research paper recently published by the US Department of Treasury stated that in the second quarter of 2022, homeownership rates for white households was 75% compared to 45% for black households, 48% for Hispanic households, and 57% for non-Hispanic households of any other race. Like overall racial wealth gaps, these gaps in homeownership rates have changed little over the last 30 years. At CPC, we believe that housing is the foundation of a thriving, vibrant community, whether that is quality rental housing or a permanent place to live for individuals and families. Although the majority of our lending and investing work is in multifamily rental housing, we're always proud to help make home ownership possible for individuals and families. We're currently working with New York State on 2 homeownership programs. CPC provides construction financing and technical assistance to the developers for the state's Legacy Cities Access Program, which aims to transform blighted and vacant structures into move-in-ready homes that will help expand affordable homeownership opportunities for low and moderate income residents. Importantly, the program prioritizes first-time home buyers and households of color. Just last month, we closed on a project with our partners at the New York State Housing Finance Agency that will deliver 38 newly constructed affordable homes for first-time home buyers in Schenectady, New York. This was through the state's Affordable Homeownership Program, or AHOP. These are some examples of how CPC's innovative partnership model can bridge gaps in resources, making home ownership possible for those who would otherwise not be able to attain the long-term stability and economic advantages that come with owning a home. In this session, we're going to hear about 4 different ideas on how to expand and make homeownership more accessible and scalable. Our first presentation is from Cara Purcell, Director of Innovative Finance at Grounded Solutions Network, and she's going to be discussing a shared equity housing model that creates a pipeline of affordable homes subsidized by market forces. Second, we have Adam Weinstein, President and CEO of Phipps Houses. Adam is going to be discussing appreciation mortgages as a way to expand homeownership in denser and costlier cities. Next, we're going to hear from Jena, Vice President at Hope Enterprises, who's going to present an idea about year 15 mortgages. And finally, Kirk Goodrich, President of Monadnock Development. Kirk is going to be talking about how employers can support homeownership. So I'd like to first call Cara.
Part of this conversation. Like many of you, I've spent my career working to advance equity and affordability in housing. I've worked on down payment assistance, disaster recovery, and foreclosure prevention programs. Through this work, I've seen how powerful homeownership can be, the stability it brings, the foundation it provides for building wealth, and the sense of pride and community it can foster. I've also seen this dream slip away from too many. The racial homeownership gap has remained stubbornly wide for decades, and with rising housing costs burdening renters and homeowners alike, we risk deepening inequality and reducing economic opportunity if we don't implement new, sustainable housing solutions. That's why I was excited to join Grounded Solutions Network. A national membership organization, Grounded Solutions has spent years using policy and technical expertise to support its more than 200 members in creating housing with lasting affordability. Now, Grounded Solutions is taking direct action to address one of affordable housing's biggest challenges, the reliance on public subsidy. Our contribution is Homes for the Future, a unique real estate investment fund that's using market forces and strategic partnerships to create permanently affordable homeownership without public subsidy. So, how are we doing this? By leveraging the strongest aspects of two proven models, the shared equity model for affordable homeownership and the private equity model for single-family property acquisition and rental operations. Let's start with the shared equity model. This is where Grounded Solutions has its roots. In shared equity housing, a one-time subsidy allows a low or moderate income, or LMI family, to purchase a home at a below market price. In return, they agree to accept a below market price from the next LMI family if they sell. This is repeated in each subsequent sale, making the affordability self-sustaining and allowing that one-time investment to support generations of home buyers. Thanks to the hundreds of organizations operating programs like this nationwide, we know that shared equity housing can overcome many of the barriers to affordable homeownership. 95% of shared equity homes are affordable for families earning less than 80% of area median income, and the vast majority are purchased by first-time home buyers. And while this pay-it-forward structure doesn't build quite as much equity as traditional homeownership, it's still a powerful wealth generation tool, especially for families that would otherwise remain renters. So, why isn't this type of housing more widespread? Mainly because of the limited public subsidy available for that initial investment. This is compounded by the lack of available housing stock, and when homes do hit the market, they are increasingly bought by investors. This brings me to the second model. Private equity has figured out how to profitably acquire and operate single-family rentals, thanks to the emergence of large single-family rental, or SFR, operators that can benefit from economies of scale. But what if we could tap into that same infrastructure? Instead of maximizing profits for shareholders, we would build wealth for families and communities. Homes for the Future is doing just that. Here's how. First, we partner with an SFR operator and use their infrastructure to efficiently acquire and rehab single-family homes to our standards. Then we rent them affordably for a period of years while our SFR partner provides ongoing property management and our community partners connect tenants to services like homeownership counseling. The rental period is key here because we're using time to our benefit. A few important things happen during this period. We generate positive cash flow from rental operations, we pay down our debt, home values appreciate, and homebuyer incomes increase. Eventually, we build enough equity to be able to sell the homes at below market prices while still paying off our remaining debt and generating a modest return. In other words, we become able to self-subsidize. At this point, we sell the homes as part of shared equity housing programs. This ensures that they'll remain affordable and the subsidy that we've created will stay in the community, providing generations of residents that might otherwise have been priced out an opportunity to stay in their neighborhoods and become homeowners. Homes for the Future is a new and ambitious initiative. We understand the magnitude of the housing affordability crisis, and we will not shy away from scale. After all, that's where those efficiencies happen. We're starting with a few hundred homes in 2 to 3 markets, but our model is viable in more than 30 markets nationwide and has the potential to help thousands of first-time and first-generation homebuyers. As we embark upon this journey, I welcome you to follow our story, stay tuned for updates, and if you're also interested in scaling this work, let's talk. Thank you.
Hello. Can everyone hear me? I'm Adam Weinstein. I'm the president and CEO of Phipps Houses, a not-for-profit affordable housing developer here in New York. I'm here to talk about appreciation mortgages, which is ironic because I'm a rental housing developer and not a lender. But I was intrigued by this idea from a crazy Wall Street guy who thought that this had a potential. The basic concept, and it's not that different than a lot of the concepts that we've heard, is a shared appreciation. Homeownership is, of course, a critical path to building wealth in the US. What has been a problem, particularly in high-cost cities, is GSE lenders have trouble originating in very high-cost areas, can't find conforming mortgages. The affordable housing programs that we use are entirely focused on rental housing. The opportunity exists to get conforming loans, and that's achieved primarily by making a mortgage available on a second loan basis that is not repaid except on recap or refinance or sale of the home. And then the repayment is made proportionate to the amount of debt to total original cost. And so you might ask, is this equity or is this a loan? GSE lenders seem willing to consider it a second mortgage, buys down their loan to value, makes it possible for them to make conforming loans available. It does put shared risk. In that way, it is like a preferred equity position on both the lender and the homeowner. And as I said, the appreciation, the loan is repaid upon refi or sale. There is, of course, a downside risk, but in high-cost markets, there's some ability to mitigate that risk. And that's also where an organization like my own, a not-for-profit or not-for-profit lending institutions and governments can risk share. Obviously, the shared equity value is only if the home appreciates in value. Again, the risk mitigation relies on market forces. Over time, this is where the Wall Street fellow came in. There's an idea that these could be securitized as a pool, and there are a variety of ways that I've seen that this makes some sense. Who's going to credit support is, of course, a big question. I'm sure lenders in the audience will tell me why this is a wacky idea. But it was very interesting to my organization that struggles to find homeownership opportunities in large multifamily buildings that we're constructing. And we want to provide a model of homeownership on ground floor that is a very New York type. It can be used in a multifamily context, which is, again, what my organization does. I'd like to see it in a condo structure. That too has the potential for separating in a larger multifamily development to homeownership ground floor and multifamily above. And it can serve the lowest income neighborhoods where land is cheapest and land cost is not borne by the mortgage. That's my presentation. Thank you.
My name is Jena and I'm a Vice President of Community and Economic Development at Hope Enterprise Corporation. Hope is a CDFI loan fund, credit union, and policy institute headquartered in Jackson, Mississippi. We serve deep South states of Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, and the western part of Tennessee. I came to Hope following a 5-year start to my professional career as a teacher in Mississippi's most underserved schools. Teach for America sent me to Yazoo City, Mississippi in 2013. That is the star here on the map. And I actually interviewed for my Teach for America process while living here in New York City. And I took this picture here on the screen, not knowing that it would be the first step in my housing, a journey to affordable housing. I now consider Mississippi my home state. And the work in the affordable housing sector gives me the opportunity to realize opportunities for residents and communities across my region. May it be supporting the development of LIHTC, homes, units, aiding in building the capacity of local housing authorities and HFAs, managing owner-occupied repair grants, advocating for fair housing, and helping a first-time homebuyer close a mortgage. My passion for affordable housing came naturally. As somebody who loves House Hunters International, thrives developing the strip from Connecticut, Mediterranean Avenue to Connecticut Avenue in the game of Monopoly, and who has been a renter my whole life. I guess you could say I rent for my husband now as a homeowner, but housing is an easy fit. Housing for me, affordable housing specifically, is that intersection where passion, purpose, and talent kind of come together, and so I gotta love it. Purpose that's realized when I help somebody close a mortgage loan for their first-time homebuyer, close a mortgage loan, and walk away with $50,000 plus in equity for a home they've been renting for 15 years. So in Mississippi, currently there are 5,000 plus that we know of single-family units, homes that were developed using the low-income housing tax credit some 15 years ago. There was not foresight to think about what that conversion process would look like after the 15 years were up. And so in this program, in year 16, the tenant of the unit, the home, is eligible to purchase their home for a significantly discounted price. The average purchase price of these expiring LIHTC homes built as lease purchase is around $50,000, and the homes are appraising upward to $125,000. So immediately upon closing, you're purchasing your home for $50,000. You're walking away with up to more $50,000 in equity, which is incredible. However, with the lack of credit readiness for the tenants living in these homes, as well as the lack of a small dollar mortgage product in the traditional market, there aren't many homeowners that have been homes that have been converted to homeownership through this program. And our innovation then is a unique mortgage product that looks at the last 2 years of rental history as opposed to credit. So we don't actually look at credit at all. The mortgage product is primarily based on the 2 years on timer. I think it's very slow, y'all. The mortgage product is based primarily on 2 years of recent rental payment history, not credit score. The loans are manually underwritten. There is no maximum debt to income ratio, no minimum trade lines required. The only thing that has prevented us from closing a mortgage loan to date, and as of before writing this speech, we've actually closed 10. And the only declines have been because of past judgments and liens on title. So the new product that we created also offers down payment assistance. It does not require private mortgage insurance. And I think the biggest bang for the buck here is that the mortgage payment cannot, under our guidelines, exceed the current rent that the tenant is paying. With each Y16 closing, and we call Y16 as that year that it can convert, wealth is immediately created through equity. The mortgage loan helps the credit profile of the borrower and creates more opportunity for upward mobility for generations to come, passing on future real estate and other assets. So that's it.
Good afternoon, everybody. That's not my favorite picture of myself right there, just so you know. I'm Kirk Goodrich. I'm president of Monadnock Development, and I'm co-host of the Housing Problem podcast with a Buffalo Bills fan. I can't remember his... Rafael Sestero. Affordable homeownership is my first love. It really is, the reason I wanted to be in affordable housing. And my mom, as I've said many times, worked on a tray line for 32 years in Downstate Hospital near where I grew up. And it was really 30 to 40 Caribbean people. And one of her coworkers, Miss Edmondson, bought a Nehemiah home in the mid-'80s, in the first cohort of homes, and there was a buzz in the kitchen, and it was a big deal in the neighborhoods too, because that was an area of the city in Brownsville and East New York, Brooklyn, that was being transformed. And really since that time and through my undergraduate years when Raphael and I were in New York together in the fall of 1989, I interviewed I.D. Robbins, who was then the developer of the Nehemiah program. Lo and behold, in the mid-90s, Monadnock, where I now work, became the successor to I.D. Robbins as the developer. And our company has done 1,151 homes over like a 25-year period in East New York, which is amazing. The problem is that we defined affordable homeownership with respect to our city as a production program. And so if you weren't doing Mitchell-Lama and you weren't building single-family homes on vacant lots, I guess you weren't doing affordable home ownership. And there's been a lot of thinking around CLTs in the city, but I, about a year and a half ago to 2 years ago, started thinking about affordable home ownership as not a development program, which is what I grew up seeing and sparked my passion and what we did for so many years with the Nehemiah team, but started thinking about it as an opportunity to help people who just needed some help to buy existing homes in their neighborhood, which is not as sexy as redeveloping a neighborhood, but no less effective. And from my perspective, I was further encouraged in that way because of I had a cousin who moved to the Poconos, et cetera. 30 years ago, I met a guy named Dan Hoffman who really pioneered the field of employer-assisted housing with a couple other guys and co-wrote a book called Employer-Assisted Housing, A Benefit for the 90s. And, I've been working with him, thinking about a few things. And so what I want to talk about in the next 1 minute and 54 seconds is the idea that could we combine the two things? And there are demand-side programs and supply-side programs in the employer-assisted housing world. Employer-assisted housing is not a new idea. It's been around for hundreds of years in the extraction, mining, and agricultural world. But let me just give you a for instance. So let's say the Port Authority of New York and the airlines at JFK decided to have a partnership so that employees who had been there 3 years or more could buy existing homes in the communities around JFK, which surprisingly are probably the most affordable, some of the most affordable places in the city you could buy homes. On average, those homes are between $680,000 and $710,000 as of, I looked on Zillow, Woodhaven, East New York, Howard Beach, Richmond Hill, et cetera, Far Rockaway. And the idea would be that if the Port Authority and the airlines put up a total of $20 million a year, you could actually mark down the prices of those homes by $200,000. And because of the current prices in those areas, those homes would be available to households at 80 to 90% AMI. And, $20 million in the ecosystem of affordable housing we operating is really no money. 100 homes a year may not seem like a lot, but the reality is that we did on average 46 homes a year through Nehemiah, and it was transformative. And so I'm talking about doing twice that many homes for airline employees and airport employees. And the whole idea behind employer-assisted housing, which this concept feeds into, is to reduce what's called, this is not my term, I can't take credit for it, the spatial mismatch. That's the distance between where you work and where you can affordably live. And that's the entire concept, that employers are incentivized to do it because it increases productivity, it helps with retention and with recruitment. And so that's the simple concept. There's no more complicated than that. But I think it could have a profound effect. And anchor employees like airports should do it, but hospitals can do it, universities can do it, and have it focus on non-managerial employees as opposed to what we've seen employer-assisted housing do before now would be the concept. So, thank you.